Welcome to The Work of Warriors, a podcast dedicated to bringing mental wellness to the entertainment industry. I'm your host, Kim Ravage. This podcast is dedicated to the artists we've lost to mental health, addiction, and suicide, and to those who are still suffering in silence. Mrozek, I'm so excited that you said yes to this invitation. Thank you for being here. It's hard to contain the smile on my face. You are an actor and director and the creator and director of About Him and Her, which is one of my new favorite films. And we can talk about that a little more. I'm wondering, do you want to tell the story of how we met, or should I?
All right, why don't you start? And maybe I'll chime in.
Okay, so we were at the Julian Dubuque Film Festival in Iowa, of all places, and we were there. My husband and I were there with our son, who is a young filmmaker, and we met you. We saw your film. We loved your film. We fell in love with you, but we were sitting around in one of the community areas, I think, and you just asked a very normal, common question, like, what is your connection to Mac? And my husband...
Wait. I need to go back. Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Add something. Okay.
We were in like the little, I don't know what that's called, like the little like meeting or like the gathering room or whatever, the little lounge. The lounge. And there was a kid sitting there. He had black fingernail polish, kind of this long hair. And I said hi to him and found out that he was a filmmaker. And it was kind of just reminded me of me when I was a kid, right? And so then I asked who these people were, and he said that he just met you and Mike. And so that for the next several days, I kept seeing these two adults with this kid. Now I thought they were there supporting him, because he was sitting down in the lounge, and you guys were just kind of hanging out, and because he was there by himself. And then the next day I saw you with him, and then the following day, and then every once in a while I would see you guys out and about. And I thought it was a little odd, and I wasn't too sure actually how I should take this, because I started now studying this a little bit more. It's like, why are these two adults like aggressively hanging out with this kid? And one thing's kind of cool to make sure he's okay, but after a while, let him be on his own. And I think it was that last day you guys were leaving, and I talked about him going home. He's going back to Chicago, where I'm from. So we're from Chicago, and then I was saying bye to you guys, and you're saying you're going back to Chicago. And I said, how crazy is this? These two people who have been following this kid around are all going back to Chicago, and apparently on the same plane. And then it's revealed to me that you're his parents. And so this whole time, I actually thought you were just two adults following this kid around. And I was actually starting to, monitor this to try to figure out, what do I need to do just in case you're going to like abduct this child or abuse this child, or I don't know what you're going to do, but it's like, that's hanging out with a kid too long. And so that's when we realized it was actually his mom and dad.
Oh my! All this time I thought my husband said something weird, but it was my kid. Okay, well, either way, it makes sense.
Yeah, he said, or maybe it was your husband, but I thought he said these are. I just met them, and that's that. He was joking with me. I guess he assumed that once I saw you guys like several times that I would catch on that you're the parents, but my brain doesn't go like that. So I was just in protection mode. All right, this is weird and creepy. Like, these guys won't leave him alone.
The whole weekend you're keeping an eye on him. Yeah, you're keeping an eye on him. This poor kid over the weekend, making sure these two adults aren't like doing something nefarious. It's so funny. And then you came to Chicago because you were at another film festival with About Him and Her, which is your movie. And when we saw that, we're like, it's our opportunity to see it again. And so we came
you guys went again
and saw it again.
Yes,
we did.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
We did. Do you want to say a little bit about Him and Her? Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. It's based on a true story, something that happened to me in 1989, and it's a story about two strangers. He's in Chicago and she's in Michigan, and they meet via crossed phone lines. And it's really this story about connection and about love and what transpires during this chance meeting. And I can't really say much more because you actually have to watch the movie to see what happens. It'll give it away if I
Right,
say
right,
what
right.
happens. But it's a cool movie. It's finally out on Amazon Prime, and I've been enjoying to know that it's out into the world and people are allowed to see it now. And I think that's it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool finally having complete strangers articulate their feelings about the movie, and especially when they mention something so beautiful, is very touching and inspiring, and it's cool for the people that don't like it and have some choice words for me. Um, I rely on those in my tribe that love it and get it and want to champion it. So that's all. It's all really beautiful in many ways. So
I'm somebody who graduated high school in 89, so it hit directly in my heart. So
I
I fell
love
in
it
love with it, and I'm glad I got to see it a few times now. You know my mission. I'm on a mission to end
for
celebrity
sure.
suicide. And one of the
Amen.
reasons is, yeah, I have a kid in the industry, and I was terrified to let him do the work. But we live in a world that says if you're famous, if you're successful, if you're on TV, then you've made it, and you have it made. And you know as well as I do that's not the case. That is a false narrative, and you have personal experience. And I'm wondering if you would just share with our listeners maybe an adversity that you've overcome to give the rest of us hope and a window into the realities of what it's like to be an artist and a filmmaker and a director and all the
Sure.
things that you are.
Well, there's a couple of things I want to start out with, but I want to say is that a lot of people through my life would say to me when I said that I was an actor or I'm a filmmaker, and they said, don't forget me when you're famous. And I would always look at them and I said, well, don't forget me if I'm not famous. And I think it starts to boil down in a lot of what my expectations were and what people expected of me. And I think that was it's been a long list of troubled years for me. But this is something really important that I want to share with you. And I think I'm not too sure if I've actually said this. And you know me, I'm a very emotional guy. So I may not make it all the way through. So um, hang in there with me as you always do. About a year ago, a little over a year ago, in August is about a year, I had something major happen in my life that was um, a turning point for me. And as much as I didn't want it to happen, I was left with no choice but this circumstance to happen with um, separating from a a human being and having that my dependency broken on that. And I don't think I had myself equipped to be able to handle not having a place to live, having no money. And as much as I knew that there was a few of them that wanted me to fail, I was determined to make it. However, I was not equipped to handle that journey. And I say that I wasn't at that time. And I want to say that I am here on Mother Earth right now because of two people. And that is you, Kim, and my brother, Todd. If it wasn't for, I'm starting to shake, if it wasn't for the two of you, I'd not be living right now. And I am thankful and I am grateful. In my prayers, I'm always reminded to say one for you and for Todd. And there was a couple moments in my life a year ago where it was lights out. That's all I could do. And I go back to say that when I knew there were people that wanted me to fail, I was determined. However, it was false determination of the way I've been living my life. And not so much in the imposter syndrome, but I was not true, not being the best version of who I am, and living in a lie, and not following my true passion as a human being and professionally. And I couldn't see it clearly. I came to Chicago, and I think that you started to understand that I was in a dark place. And you said, Ice, I'm not too sure if you know what I do. And to be honest with you, even if you told me 100 times, I probably wouldn't have heard it. And I don't know what I was hearing at any point in time. But all I know is whatever I heard, I created my own truth for whatever that was. You could say the sky is blue and I'm saying the sky is red. And that's what I heard you say. I didn't even know. And you told me, and I think that you possibly had an idea that I was in a troubled space and the waters were choppy for me. And you said to me, I'm going to give you a free session. And that meant the world to me. And we met via Zoom when I got back to LA. And not soon after that, you sent me a message and you said, and this was in August, you said, I'm going to go to the rest of the year with you for free. And I will tell you, that was one of the most beautiful words I ever heard. And we met weekly and I lived for it. You may not know it, but as I sat up in my friend's room, my buddy Kevin, who gave me a place to stay for a couple of months, I battled. And when I didn't have you and those other moments, I had someone that I didn't think was going to be as powerful as he was going to be, and that was my brother. And this second, at this moment, I can't tell you how beautiful my life is. And I'm far from perfect. And my situation's far from perfect. And I will tell you that it's amazing as I kind of look around and I'm in my apartment. I bought a Tesla for my birthday and I'm fighting like hell to make it happen. I've got a mission. I'm on a journey and it's not easy. None of this is easy. It's hard. Every day is hard and it's a battle. But the beauty is that I don't have fear. I've got this amazing trust in God. I've spun my life around and I can't express the joy that I have that I'm alive. And I don't even know what it would be like in the sense of to still be in that darkness, but how all this came about. And when I tell you how solid I am right now, it doesn't mean that I'm there. It doesn't mean that I've accomplished it all. But what it means is I took a moment after I spoke with you guys for a few minutes when I felt like I was through it. I felt like I had an opportunity. And at a time when I felt like I didn't, it took a little while longer. And here's an example. You would send me things via email and you would send me text messages and voice messages, sometimes just to check in, sometimes just to say hi, sometimes just to share some information. And rather if I need a therapist or you would a place to live, constantly. And there's a stubbornness, and I'll speak of myself only and not speak of in generalities, but there's a stubbornness that I had, and it was built from fear. And I think it was part of the process of me sabotaging myself and sabotaging sabotaging myself for years upon years upon years. And there's a specific moment. I don't know if you remember this, but you were mentioning Mel Robbins and said to listen to her podcast, and you have had colleagues contact me, and none of this stuff was really, I was ready for it. When I mean that by, not that I wasn't ready, I didn't know who to believe anymore. And I felt like, I don't even know if I trust God. I damn sure don't know if I trust you, but you were about the only one I really trust. But it was like, what I didn't trust is I don't know, is the information you're going to give me true? Like, I don't know. I'm so broken. I'm so beat down. Trying to figure out life and know what's right and wrong in the aspect of now that we live in this world of internet, when you can say everything's beautiful, and then the person can say what's beautiful, not beauty. You know what I mean? It's almost like you can be an awesome chocolate chip cookie, and someone's always going to hate a chocolate chip cookie. At the end of the day, it's like, okay, are chocolate chip cookies good or not? I don't know. And so I was kind of left in that space of didn't know. And several months after, and this was about, maybe 3-4 months ago, I was out of these troubled waters, but I still had a lot of other things to deal with. And it was kind of in this process when I was talking with you, one of the things that I would try is to fix it all. And I remember I was smoking at the time, and I haven't smoked a cigarette in 6 months. I don't even care to smoke a cigarette. And you were like, no, stop trying to quit drinking, quit smoking, quit this, quit that. You're like, it's okay. And I'm like, why are you telling me it's okay to smoke? First and foremost, it's bad for me, and you should tell me not to do it. But really, all you were trying to do is prioritize my needs. And right now, if smoking a cigarette right now is part of my process to keep you alive, smoke the cigarette. I'm going to work on this other stuff right now, because I was trying so bad to be perfect in the minute. And it was never going to happen. And I realized that that's never going to happen. And it is a slow, progressive change. And however, you start chipping away at a few things, and a few more things will come into your life, and you got to start just chipping away at those. But it took me a minute, but I had to start somewhere. And again, if there's 100 things on my list with this arbitrary number, I've got 40 done, right? And I've got 60 more to go. I want to do them tonight, but I know that I can't. And however, I've got to just keep slowly working at it. And this is part of the process for me. And so a few months ago, I decided that I started to kind of invest in what you were talking about and some of the things that you were telling me, because it became hard, especially when I was trying to find a therapist. And I would find one, and then they would not be that great. And then they would say things that would be very, very off-putting for me. But just to find a therapist in this world, everybody's booked. There's no, I couldn't find anyone, and I had no money. So I had to find one that that was on my Medi-Cal or whatever. And then I was trying to think, okay, what can I pay? What sliding scale? And then I had to make sure that I really liked somebody. And so it was all of this stuff at one time, just trying to find a therapist, trying to figure out my life, trying to quit smoking, making sure that I'm not over drinking. I'm just self-sabotaging. I don't want to do drugs. And so I started investing a little bit more time in some of the podcasts that you shared. And it was time then. And then I was able to hear kind of your language through some of these other outlets. And it wasn't too long ago, I decided that I needed to sit in silence and sit in true silence. And I wanted to listen to God. And I think that was I haven't talked to God in a long time. I've been too ashamed. I didn't feel like I was worthy to even speak to God, let alone pray. And I wasn't at my wit's end, where you would have thought I would have sat with God when I'm about ready to kill myself. It was, almost a year later. And I sat with God, and he just started talking to me. And I know it sounded hokey when people would say that, like, when God's talking to you, it's like, but for me, it's just sitting in true silence with no distractions and just listening. And I don't, and I think for anybody, you should sit in silence and listen. And if you don't believe in God, just listen. Maybe the universe will tell you to listen to God. Maybe not. But whatever it is that you choose to believe in, because you have that right. I just choose God. But whatever it is that you believe in, you should sit in silence and listen, and 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 then really heed those words, and then try to move forward and navigate the best that you can appropriately with that, and challenge yourself on doing that. And I think for me, that was one of the things, is when I listened to God, I was like, okay. And I ended up volunteering with New Filmmakers LA that I do on a consistent basis. And I met this couple when I was volunteering there, and I met this couple, and they were with their two kids, and I went up and introduced myself and said hi. And next thing you know, it found out that she's a writer, and the kids are there because they love movies. And so, yeah. And so we decided to go in strike and walk the line. And I was telling Danielle this story about my life, and then she was leaving, and she said, "Well, you do know that me and my husband are pastors of a church?" And I was like, "No, I don't." She's like, "Yeah, I told you." I was like, whatever you told me, I probably never heard anything. I was selfishly in a bad place. And she goes, "Well, I'm not going to leave without praying for you." So she prayed, and I was in the process of looking for a church and looking for a home. And but I was very scared. And so they said they had a church, and she ends up leaving, and I ended up texting her and saying, when's church, and so forth, and what's the address. So I get the information, and I spend about 3 hours vetting every single person in that church. And I'm not too sure if I've told you this, but not soon before I make my movie, of in '89, of that time, is I was seeking God, and again, listening and talking to God. And I came across, this is really kind of a cool story, but I'll be very brief. I was homeless in Chicago, and I was walking the streets of downtown Chicago, and I was asking God to show me a sign. If you could please show me a sign, Lord. What my purpose of why I'm here. I want to be an actor, and I need information. And so lo and behold, I'm walking, and it's late at night, and this guy comes into my pathway, and he says, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "Hey, I'm good." And I'm homeless, and I'm just talking to God, trying to figure out where I'm going to sleep, and show me some signs. And he started talking to me, and he said, "Do you believe in Jesus?" And I'm like, "Yes, of course I believe in Jesus." I mean, like, we're pretty tight. And so he gets to talking to me, and not soon after that, I'm looking over his shoulder, and there's a sign, a real sign, and it says Ted Liss Acting Studio. And I was like, "Oh, hang on a second, God. Is my sign this man standing before me, or is the sign the one that you brought the man to stand before me, so I see it over his shoulder?" And I was like, this is kind of crazy. So he just kind of goes in the Charlie Brown, wah, wah, and I don't know. I'm like, I think that's my sign. And then I thought, well, maybe they're both my sign. So needless to say, I went to that acting studio. I ended up studying there at the Ted Liss Studio for a couple of years. However, the guy that stopped there, I ended up communicating with him, and he brought me to the church, and I was seeking God so bad that I was willing to do whatever was told to me to do. And it turns out that they were a bit aggressive and they were very cultish. And I couldn't listen to like the Beatles or the Rolling Stones, and I had to do certain things. And it was like a cult. And when I called my family one night, and I was like, "Hey, Mom," I was like, "Why you living?" You know what I mean? She's like, because I have to take care of my husband and you guys. I'm like, no, you need to be living for God. And I got really and then I told my dad, get on the phone, Dad, why are you living? And I got in this very preachy, spiritual, cultish way and my mom's like, Ice, what are you talking about? Now, mind you, I come from a very religious background and family. And my mom's like, what are you talking about? And I just went crazy Bible talk on them. My mom's like, I'm coming out. And so my mom flies out to Chicago, sets up a meeting with this guy. We're at my uncle's house. And my mom says, Ice, go inside. And I go inside, and my uncle and my aunt say, yeah, you might want to just stay here. And so we kind of like listening, through the screen door, and my mom just rips this guy and she goes to town and pretty much says, I rebuke you, Satan. You ever come near my child again, I will come and I will make your life miserable. And she screaming at the top of her lungs. And I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, no, let your mom do what she needs to do. And at that moment, it was me understanding that I think my mom is right. And she brought it to my attention, like, this is not of God, right? And she needed to make sure that he was completely gone. So I, for months, I was in this cult and, abiding by what they said was God's, rule and law. And, I was like, I could never be that human being ever. And I don't even, whatever. So, but anyways, the reason that I told you that story, sorry, I forgot that I tell long stories. But anyways, the whole point that I'll shorten stuff up now. The whole point that I was telling you that story is that I was so frightened for anyone to say, come to my church or anything like that. It's like, go to your church. Like, okay, I'm going to vet you. So for 3 hours, I'm vetting this whole church. Everyone that's a part of this church, I'm like looking them up, looking up whatever they've been a part of. And so I'm thinking, well, it seems okay. And so I went there, and it turns out that Brian Heaney, the pastor of the Sound Church, and I go to the one in Santa Ana, is a spectacular human being, right in line with how I really view Christianity, and everything that I would really stand for, everything that I would actually believe is like, this is what church should be. He brought it, and it was another process and a part of my journey and my mission for what I'm trying to do that just landed at the perfect timing for me. And so I kind of now look back at all of this, and I think how it started and the darkness that I was in, and from you and my brother into where I am now, and having this church and really, really focusing in on living in a beautiful, compassionate, and kind space, not only to other people, but mostly to myself. And how do I continue to be kind and compassionate to myself, and knowing that I'm perfectly imperfect, and it's okay. And I deal with a tremendous amount of insecurity, and it has been the catalyst for my downfall for many, 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 many years of my life. And once I was able to really start to recognize some truths about myself, I was able to handle them a little bit more appropriately, knowing that, suffering with really bad anxiety and depression, and what people were calling mental wellness, which the mental illness, which I go back into, Dr. Amen, even on the Mel Robbins podcast, talks about brain wellness. And I look at this and it's like, yeah, I'm not mental. I don't have an illness. What I'm striving for is my brain wellness. This is going to be forever. It's not that all of a sudden everything's perfect today and then I have no problems tomorrow. I will have a problem later today, tomorrow, and so on and so forth. However, working into the power of the brain wellness and taking care of yourself, I can't begin to tell you how much easier it is that I navigate through some of the crazy, awful things this cruel, cruel world does, and how I'm a part of it. And every day I'm a part of it. Every day it's a battle of just pain that people give to each other. And if I wasn't, I now look back of how I would handle situations. And I don't think I could ever get better as a human being, knowing the way I used to handle it. And again, not that it's such a bad thing, but be rude to me, I'm going to be rude to you. Piss me off, I'm going to piss you off. You know what I mean? And it's like, at the end of the day, I would carry negative energy on to the next moment, sometimes to the next human being. And I would catch myself really just saying like, I was actually pretty rude to that person, and I was like, well, they were kind of rude to me. But at the end of the day, like, what am I thinking here? Like, so now there's just such a beauty. And it doesn't mean that I'm perfect every day, but however, I am more perfect than not with changing my behavior. And I'll make mistakes, and it's okay. And it's okay for me to lose my cool. And it's okay for me to somehow, flip someone off in traffic. You know what I mean? However, I just won't do it every day, every minute.
Well, you do live in LA. I mean, come on.
And it's brutal. So, but I think there's a beauty of that. And I am so much more content and happy with myself when I'm able just to say, that's okay. It's okay. You know what I mean? It's like someone's being very rude to me today. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm just going to give you some love and kindness and compassion. And you know what? Maybe they get it. Maybe they receive it. Maybe they don't. It's not for me to judge. It's not for me to figure out. It's not for me to ask. I just got to do what I'm supposed to do, how I'm supposed to serve.
Yeah.
You can eat at my table. I don't care what you believe. I don't care what you've done. I don't care who you are, because someone let me sit at their table. Jesus let me sit at his table, right? And that's the way I look at it. And to me, I felt, wow, I judge a lot. I compare a lot. I'm like, wow. And when I sat in silence and I continue to meditate and I continue to pray, I see it more and more and more and more. It's like, oh my goodness. It's like, why? Why am I so like, I'm mad at the person that, maybe I don't think is as good as me. And like, how are they successful and why are they successful? They suck at that. What am I doing? That's not my place. It's not my place.
Don't you think like the more attuned you are to yourself and the kinder, like, I was so glad when you said I have to be kind and compassionate with myself. And I always say like, stay curious and compassionate with yourself and others, right? Because it just gives us so much more peace. But when we're not there and we're not self-attuned and we're not being kind and curious and compassionate with ourselves, I think that's where we end up projecting onto other people and judging and getting jealous and having all these, assumptions and taking things personal. And, those are things that I struggle with, the taking things personal and making assumptions. When I can remember not to do those, I'm like, oh, okay, it just brings me so much peace. But I want to go back to, first of all, thank you for everything that you said about just how we met and our time together. And like you were just saying, I'm just supposed to do what I'm called to do. And this is what I'm asked to do, to serve. And sometimes, I just feel like God, the universe puts a person in my path, a very special person that I just can't walk away from. And of course, I'm committed to taking care of myself first. But it was an honor to walk that journey with you. And it brings me, I don't say it brings me joy. Like, I don't even have words for the amount of joy that I have to see you, just thriving. And I love that you're saying like, it has little to nothing to do with the career success, right? Like that will come. But
exactly.
You said, I wasn't living true to myself or something, or I wasn't being true to my core. And I wanted to ask you, Ice, like, who are you at your core? If you were to fall down today emotionally, and I had to, I wanted to reach my hand down and pick you back up, who would I remind you that you are? I feel like I know, but I want to hear it from you. Like, who are you at your core?
At my core, that's a great question. And this is what my journey and my mission is. I have an extraordinary amount of love. And what I shied away from for a long time was what I had the power to do. And that was to be um, truthful in my space, give love and kindness, be compassionate, serve, be a part of the process in changing the world for a better place. And not to be cliche on that, but this has always been since I was a kid. And because I felt I was not worthy, I was not perfect, that I didn't deserve to ever give any compassion and kindness to myself, and let alone much to anybody else. Even though I had moments of this, because I was always, for the most part, a fun, loving, good guy. However, there was a lot of guilt and shame that I lived in. So at the core, there's that beauty of being compassionate to this world and giving and helping and serving. And I think my strongest calling in all of that is to champion myself and those around me, and those that I can reach, and how we can make a difference in this world. So at the core, that's where I'm at and who I am, if that makes any sense.
It makes total sense. And I just want to say, even, I met you in one of your darkest seasons, right?
Yeah.
And even then, I think that's it, why I was so drawn to you, because even then, your light just shined through so brightly. And I don't know if you remember, but you sat, when we first met, with the weekend that you came to Chicago, you sat on my couch pouring into my kid about the film industry and film festivals and the reality of, the hard truths of the industry. And that was a gift too. And so I believe you. I see that in you. And I was able to see it even in your darkest days. So I just believe it, and it's true.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's the beauty for what you're doing, and why I'm a champion for this, and how it's inspired me. I'm not. I'm in the process of revamping my acting studio, as I am working on myself, and I'm allowing myself to take day by day and continue to keep growing and learning a little bit more about myself, and how do I handle some of my trials and my tribulations, because it is very clear to me. Very clear to me. I don't know why this keeps popping. Very clear to me that I have hated myself for a very long time, and I do love myself. However, I'm still battling with a few things, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. But I'm on the journey of continuing to take care of myself, and I'll allow myself to keep growing with the love for myself, authentically, and let that continue to keep manifesting, because it's amazing it's happening right now. And I sit and I reflect on some of the most unique stories that are transpiring in my life that I can't even believe are happening, so for so many different reasons. But I'm not trying to figure it out. I'm just trying to be present, right? And
Yeah.
it's overwhelming in so many ways, but overwhelming with a lot of joy, and knowing that I'm on the right path, and I'm looking forward to each moment, building upon that and strengthening myself, because there are dark moments. They're coming. They're always going to be here. And but to be as prepared as I can. And not always can we always be 100% prepared for what we know that's going to come our way. However, I am prepared for some of this bullshit that happens, that I can handle pretty good, and that's what's kind of cool for me, is that someone called me the other day and they're in a dark place. And immediately I had judgments of like, okay, but you're not ABC. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Not even my place. Not even my place. You know what? Let me hear you. Let me hear you. Talk. Go ahead. Go, 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 go. And that change that I had, it's like, who am I to judge? I don't think you've ever, I have sat in the dark place and blamed everybody else and didn't get a fair shake. And that's BS and that's BS. And that person's screwing people over. And I'm like, oh, come on, and it's those moments that I look and say, okay, what do I need to do? And let me listen. If they need something from me, let me deliver. But right now, let me be present. Let me hear them. That's it. I don't need to offer up a bunch of advice. Just let me listen to them. And then I'm going to listen to God. And then I'm going to figure out what I should do. Perhaps it's nothing. Perhaps it's something. I don't know. But when I now have done that, I realized how much more I can clearly see this world. And without that judgment and blaming and then putting it back on myself, because that's truly this beautiful magic that happens, that I can't fix their life. They have to work on themselves. You couldn't do it for me. You could only give me the tools. I have to do it. I have to do it. And as much as you wanted to come through the Zoom and do it for me, you knew you couldn't. You knew all you can do is be present. And that's what I've started to understand about myself and navigating for me moving forward. And even when I feel like I'm full, I take a moment that if I'm called upon, that I give a moment to it, right? With boundaries. However, when I'm able, I will create the time, I will make the time, and I will be present. And it's the reward that I want to give without judgment, because normally I would listen to someone, then spit my advice and tell them what they're doing wrong. And like, oh, and then I just realized, more, that's a reflection of myself. That's just me talking to me. You know what I mean? That's just me talking to me. And so,
yeah, when you're in that place like a shame spiral, or you're just living in this idea that like, the world is out to get me kind of thing, and we feel so beaten down and we're not loving ourselves. That's what we do. We project, right? I just need this magic thing to happen. I just need to make enough money. I just need the right person to partner up with, whatever it may be. And we are judging everybody else, but it really is. And I don't know if you remember when we first met, but I always tell people it's so hard to explain. But when you really choose this path, when you choose to do your inner work, when you choose to love yourself and to stay curious instead of judgmental with yourself, with other people, things start to unfold in a beautiful way. Right?
for sure.
You start to find like, oh, I have clients like, oh, I got that award. I got that job. I got the promotion, and I can't believe it. And it's like, I'm watching them do their inner work, and I'm like, oh, I can, because you're ready, right? You're ready to bring your gifts and to share them, but from a place of compassion. And so that also you get to celebrate your success when it happens. I always say, like, the worst case scenario, you do your work, you love yourself, you're solid, right? Even if you lose your career, you're going to always be stuck with yourself. And so if everything goes away, who do you want to be left with? Right? I don't want to be left with somebody who's like, I was right, you're a piece of crap. I want to be like, you know what? It's okay, because I love myself and I have the people who love me. And no matter what, I'm going to be okay. And, I think it's just a great example of how we don't want to put our worth in anything that can be taken away. What you're experiencing is because of the work you've done in your head and your heart. Coincidentally, the career is going well too.
Right. It's amazing. As I start to chip away at a few things in my career. However, my main focus was myself. Right. And so sometimes I don't, someone asked me the other day about, I was like, hey, what's going on? And I think I was just talking And it wasn't soon after that they said, oh, what's going on with your movie? And I realized, oh, I actually never even mentioned my movie. I mean, because normally that's the first thing out of my mouth. What are you doing? My movie, my movie, my movie, my movie. But I almost felt guilty. I was like, oh, I didn't mention my movie. Oh my goodness. But it's just kind of a testament to of the movie is nothing. Filmmaking is nothing. Acting is nothing. If I'm not present with myself and have the love for myself and kind and compassion for myself. And I think that leadership role that I want to have, that I know that I possess, I've always felt too ashamed. I felt like, how can I lead? I'm not that cool of a dude privately. You know what I mean? It's like, and
I disagree.
right. Well, what I mean that I felt like I was not walking the walk. Right.
I got you.
I was like, pretend this, but I could be over here doing drugs and drinking. And then all of a sudden I'm telling you how to live your life. And like, come on.
Yeah.
Really?
You want to be in integrity. So you knew you weren't in integrity.
I was not no,
Gotcha.
not at all. And so, and I always check myself on that, but what happens that really started to destroy a lot of the successes that I could have, because apparently I was too caught up with living the lie, in this imposter syndrome and in this BS lifestyle that I was, manifesting for myself, because I really hated myself. And so when I had this hate for myself, I would just do things that were not pleasant to myself, or for myself, or for the well-being for me and for other people. But the leadership quality that I know that I've always possessed, I am being patient. And it's funny, if this will put an analogy on it, you sent me an email a while ago and you said, pick a date. And I remember thinking, well, I'd like to pick right now. But what I meant in that is that I knew I wasn't picking immediately, because I was in a moment where I wasn't fully there yet. I said, I need a little bit more time to keep listening to God and working on a few things. I wasn't really ready to share my successful turnaround. I had no doubts, but I just wasn't there just yet. And I said, maybe in about 4 or 5 weeks, then let's see. Yeah, I definitely got it. That's 12, perfect. And this whole time leading up, it was always a reminder of like, hey, come on, right? You've got someone that you believe in, that has believed in you, that you want to champion, and I want to go on this journey with you. I don't want to be the student forever. I want to be the teacher here. I want to grow. I want to help change this world for the better. And for many, I want to partner with you and champion with you. And I want to be someone you can call on when we need to go help someone in LA and you need me there on boots on the ground. This is who I want to be.
I have
and
goosebumps.
This is what I love. And so I wanted to give myself some time to say, all right, let me make sure I get myself in rhythm here. And that's why I pushed this off, because it was like 5 weeks actually, or it was quite a long time. But then I was like chomping at the bit. I'm like, I want to see her. I want to see her. I want to see her. Not that I couldn't see you anytime, but
You could see me anytime.
I was just so excited because I'm on a journey and I have a mission. And even I was working with the startups with my church. I asked myself a question: what am I about? So, what is my studio about? What is my acting studio about? Which is my greatest secondary passion. And I started really reflecting on this, and I asked myself, well, who am I? And what am I really trying to do with this? Am I just trying to teach acting? Like anyone can teach acting. And this, there's 1,000,000,010 coaches. And I was reminded that I always said to my students, I don't teach you to be great actors. I teach you to find the greatness within inside yourself. Whatever you choose to do is your choice. That's your path. Whether that's acting or whether it's being an accountant, it doesn't really matter. What really matters is you find the greatness within inside yourself. And then that took me to the next level of like, well, if that is my code of what I believe, then what am I trying to do? And I started working on my startup, and I'm like, well, it's the company of actors. And then I came up with this tagline. It's changing lives, one scene at a time. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. And it's like, well, if I'm not trying to teach you to be a great actor. I'm teaching you to find the greatness within yourself. Acting is the byproduct. But whatever you're going to do, regardless if you want to be an actor or if you want to be a milk salesman, it doesn't matter. You got to find the greatness within inside yourself for you to actually really champion the best version of yourself and for other people and exist in this world that we can love and be kind and be compassionate to each other. Find that greatness within inside yourself. What is your calling? What do you want to do? And it doesn't mean that you have to be on this larger scale. It can really be as simple as just selling milk. It doesn't matter. Everyone has a calling and a reason and a rhyme for us to coordinate together and champion together, right? And so I said, I'm revamping my whole studio. Like, this is my mission. I'm like, okay, I want to change lives, one scene at a time. And I'm not trying to make great actors. I'm trying to help you find the greatness within inside yourself. The byproduct for my coaching is it's acting. And yes, all of my scenes and every exercise and things that I think of, it's all really to focus in on you and finding the beauty within you just through acting exercises. And I just started developing these certain classes and these exercises and just really what I want to say to the world. I'm like, okay, this helped me fight to be a stronger, better me for the love that I want to have for myself. That's what I kept fighting for. It's okay. When you hate yourself so much, there's a lot of lying that's going on, a lot of lying. And so I have to be very truthful, and it's not always easy. But every morning I get up and I will high five myself in the mirror. I'll give myself a wing and say, love you, kid, and then I go high five Jesus, I'll listen to a little Aretha Franklin and I'll set my intentions. I'll meditate, then I'll pray. And I'm like, okay, I'm fighting this one. Now this is all good. I got this. And this daily practice that I have to do, and I'm reminded consistently of, this really works. This stuff really, really works, and it's for the little
really
things.
Does.
Even it does, and it's like, I have a colleague that was going through some suicidal thoughts, and I'm like, I'm in such a great place to be able to serve and to hear them and to listen and to be present and to check in and to share whatever I can. But listen to God. What is my serving here? What do I need to do? Not what I think I need to do. What really needs to happen? And sometimes it's me just shutting up because I can talk a lot. And so it's just to listen. And I'm so grateful. And that is why you inspire me. And there's something that I believe in so much that I want to hold on to, because I want to start, when you had, a colleague reach out to me and you were doing everything, like, I want to be that. I want to start being that person with you and with our other warriors. And let's build that. And I don't want to be the consummate student. I want to be a leader and a teacher and a fellow traveler. I'm not a guru. I'm not higher than you. You know what I mean? We're together. No matter in this, even as a coach, I am the fellow traveler. Yeah. I never want to be above anyone. I don't ever want to give the tips and tricks. I just want to give you thoughts and ideas. You know what I mean? Like, it's all kind of been in the same thing. What does casting want? How to make your audition great. Yeah, I get all of that, right? We all have the same stuff. It's the same philosophy that we're all spitting out there. But at the end of the day, there's something more. There's really something more that I want to just lead by example. I don't want to preach to you. I just want to fulfill myself with doing what I believe is the work of God, strengthening and loving myself, sharing kindness and being compassionate and loving sincerely. my heart's not negotiable. So let me live in the highest vibration and let's move forward. And I feel that is a really, really strong place for me, coming from the darkness that I've been in for probably strong 20 years, 18 years, probably. A darkness, dark darkness. And at times people would think that I had the best life. People thought I was, on top of the world. I was for the last 18 years of my life. And I struggled with my age. And I had to take a second with that and say, it's irrelevant. It's right now. This moment right now. Doesn't matter. I don't know when I go. I don't know when that's happening. So why even worry about it? Worry about this moment. Don't worry about when I'm now going to be 56, I'll be 57. Someone said to me is like, I'm pushing 60 and they made a derogatory comment. Yeah. I hope I can push 60. I hope I can push 70, 80, 90. And I'm vibrant and I'm changing lives one scene at a time. And I'm a warrior and I'm here and we're making effective change and we're saving lives, So that's what I can do. And I will tell you, I can't thank you enough, Kim. I can't thank you enough. And that's a big amen. Because you did something miraculous and you being present. And I can't wait for me, you and my brother to be in one room and I can just cry and love you both and say thank you for being there for me. I had to make the choice. And I'm glad I did. That I chose life to live. And
me too.
And it's a beautiful thing. And I honestly, every day it's a reminder, like, man, dang, I was just about to kill myself. Two strong times I was about to kill myself. And you popped in, and the second time Todd popped in. And that was just amazing. It's like I can't even fathom now, like, wow. Like, whew. Like the lives we're about ready to change in this world. And like what I'd have just been another story that's tragic. And now we have an opportunity to save some more people. And that's something I want to be a part of. So thank you. I love you.
I want to thank you. Well, I love you too. And I want to thank you for trusting me. And I know I was knocking pretty hard there. I had to keep tabs on you for a minute. And so thank you for trusting me. And I know when you're in the darkness, it just feels so hopeless. And, I've been there, I've shared part of my story with you. And, when you are in that space, there's very little that someone can say to you that gives you hope. But people just seeing you, like you said, being present, seeing you can be very, very powerful. And I guess I would just ask, like, if somebody is listening to this, because I really believe that more people struggle with this than what we're talking about. And I think there's still far too much shame and stigma attached to that level of darkness. And so I know there are people out there who are still suffering in silence and they're questioning. If they hear this, what's one step to take? Just one step. Because like you said, you were stuck not being able to do anything, but you wanted to do everything. You're going to quit everything and you were going to be the best version of yourself and you were going to will yourself. And that's just not how it works. But you have to start with one small step. What would you say to somebody who's listening, who maybe is wrestling with that question of what's the point? Having a, life or death decision to make that you and I have had to make. What would you say is a place to start?
Yeah, you just that really gave me goosebumps. Oh wow. You do matter. And no matter how small or how large, you have something to give to this world. And even in the darkest of times, and you're feeling hopeless, and there's no reason, your life is meaningless, if you can just take a moment and just hang in there, you will see your purpose. And if there's anything that I could ever do in that sense, it's like my Instagrams, I'm pretty easy to find, Ice Mrozek, but I would encourage anyone, whether you know me or don't know me, or anything, I will listen. I will always be there. If anyone ever needed to talk, you could share my number, but hold on. Life is beautiful. And if we can just champion with each other, you'll see, just hang on. You have purpose. You really do.
Thank you. I'm so glad you said yes to this invitation. I'm so glad you said yes to my invitation a year ago. And I'm so glad that you said yes to this invitation. You are a beautiful, strong, powerful, sensitive, loving. You're all of it. And you're a warrior. And it is such an honor to know you. And I'm glad to be doing this work with you. It's not perfect every day. I do this for a living. I still get dysregulated. I still have to pull myself back up. That's human.
Yeah.
We're human. And when we can realize that and do the work together, it gets a lot easier. So
I'll tell you, that is so true. I almost feel like, oh, once I'm perfect and everything's okay, that I won't have a problem. It's we're gonna have these problems. It's beautiful when you can actually look at someone and know that, because I feel like at times what I always thought when I looked at the leaders, or certain gurus, I thought that they were, they had to be perfect, or they were perfect. And I'm like, okay, well, your life is perfect and I could never have that. And at the end of the day, no, there is no perfect life, and no one's perfect. And no matter how much money someone has or how many houses or whatever, it's like, you know what, we all live in the same cruel world. And so, it's unfair. It will continue to be unfair. However, it's just some little things we could all do to make some of these days a little bit brighter. Because we're going to have some dark ones, but let's keep as many as we can bright.
Yeah, so. And let's keep checking on each other and doing the work together. Like, it's the work of warriors. It's what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. I think it's fabulous. I love it.
Well, I hope that our listeners, I know that they're inspired. I know there's tears. I know there's laughter. And I just encourage everybody to follow you on Instagram and to go to Amazon Prime and to watch About Him and Her, because it's delightful and you're going to love it. So thank you again, Ice, for being here. I'm just so honored, like I said, to know you, to see this journey, and to having the honor of just playing a little bit of a role in that, and just getting to be a witness to the work that you've done and how you've chosen life for yourself. And I know there's, I want to say, I know there's big things ahead for you. And I just know that means in the way of changing lives, and however you do that in whatever format. But it's an honor to know you.
Well, thank you so much. It's an honor to know you.
I love you.
I love you too.
Thank you.
Bye.